All right, so let's jump into this Catchpoint 2025 SRE report we've got here. We've got a whole bunch of articles here, really fascinating stuff about challenges and surprises facing SRE teams these days. Especially with AI becoming such a big thing, it's all really relevant for anyone who's trying to deliver a smooth online experience. I mean, any company. So yeah, get ready for some eye-opening stuff.
It's true, the landscape is changing so fast. One of the biggest changes the report highlights is how downtime is being redefined.
Okay, I'm curious. What do you mean by that? How has it changed?
Well, it's not just about complete outages anymore. Sluggish performance can be just as bad. The report actually says that 53% of organizations agree with the statement, slow is the new down.
53%. Wow, that's a lot. Makes sense, though, when
Yeah.
you think about it. How much time do you spend on a website that's lagging?
Yeah.
Not long, right?
User expectations are so different now. A slow website can push customers away and hurt your brand just as much as a total crash. Companies really need to start thinking about performance as a critical part of reliability.
So it's not just keeping things running. It's about keeping them running smoothly. But what I found surprising was what the report said about toil. You'd think with AI becoming so popular, all that tedious work would be going down,
Yeah, you would think so, right?
right?
Well, the report found something unexpected. The amount of time spent on toil has actually gone up to 30%. It was 25% last year.
Wait a minute. AI was supposed to be the answer to all that toil? Not create more? What's going on?
That's a good question, and the report gives us a few possible answers. For one thing, keeping those complex AI systems running can actually create a bunch of new work. And then there's the problem of companies choosing the wrong tools. They might sound great, but end up creating more work than they save.
So basically, we're just trading one kind of toil for another. Can't escape it.
Makes you think, huh? It makes you wonder how effective these AI solutions are for SREs. Maybe we need a more focused approach.
Definitely. And speaking of challenges, the report also brought up the tension between releasing things quickly and keeping things reliable. Seems like 41% of SREs feel forced to choose speed over stability.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's a classic dilemma. Businesses want new features and updates out as fast as possible to stay competitive.
Yeah.
But that often means sacrificing reliability.
So how can companies find a good balance? Can they have speed and stability?
It's a juggling act, for sure, but it's not impossible. The report has a few suggestions. Clear communication is key. Companies need to set clear goals so that everyone knows the priorities. What are we aiming for?
Makes sense. Get everyone on the same page from the start.
Absolutely. And it's also super important to have open communication between the business teams and the reliability people.
Right.
The SREs,
Right.
that way everyone can adapt to changes in resources, can be used where they're needed most. Without that understanding, reliability often gets pushed aside.
It's like they're speaking different languages if the developers don't understand the SRE team's challenges and the other way around.
Yeah.
What other practical strategies did the report have?
Well, this might surprise you. Remember that idea of having one tool to monitor everything? The one pane of glass everyone talks about? The report kind of debunks that myth.
Really? I thought having one view of everything was the ideal way to monitor.
It sounds great, but the truth is most companies are using like 2 to 10 different monitoring tools, and the report actually suggests that using multiple tools might be the way to go.
So it's not about finding that one perfect tool that does it all.
Exactly. It's about making sure your tools give you more value than they add complexity. Catchpoint CEO Mehdi Dowdy suggests incorporating digital experience monitoring or internet performance monitoring to get a bigger picture of the user's experience.
So it's about going beyond just your internal systems and seeing how users are experiencing things out there in the real world.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
And this goes back to needing AI that can handle data from different sources. We need AI that can help us understand this increasingly complex monitoring landscape.
This is all really interesting stuff. We've got slow is the new down, the unexpected increase in toil, the push for speed and stability, and now the idea that using multiple monitoring tools is the norm. So what's next?
Well, next, we've got to unpack this whole training issue. The report found that 80% of companies support technical training, but a lot of employees just don't have the time for it.
Sounds like we're about to uncover another piece of this SRE puzzle. Let's dive into these training challenges and how they fit into the big picture.
So we talked about the pressure to release fast, the toil problem, and how important monitoring is. But there's a crucial piece we can't forget about: training.
You're right. It's easy to forget about training with all the other things going on. But the report brings up something concerning. 80% of companies say they support technical training, but a lot of employees feel like they don't have time for it.
Yeah, it's a real paradox. We know how important training is, especially with technology changing so quickly. but it always seems to get pushed aside.
I get that. We all have that list of courses we want to take someday.
Yeah.
But then, daily tasks pile up and training gets squeezed out.
Exactly. And here's where it gets even more interesting. It ties back to AI. We need time to learn how to use the tools that are supposed to be saving us time.
It's like a catch-22. We need to slow down to learn how to speed up. But the pressure to go faster is always there.
It's a tough balance to strike of. Organizations really need to step up and create a culture that values learning. It's about recognizing that investing in training isn't just a nice thing to do, it's essential for staying ahead and improving reliability.
And it's not just about giving people access to training materials. It's about giving them the time and space to actually use them. Does the type of training matter? Does the report say anything about that?
It does. The report says online training is the most popular right now, which makes sense with everything being so digital. But in-person training is still up there, especially for management.
Interesting. I wonder if that shows how important face-to-face interaction is, especially for leadership roles where collaboration is so key.
Good point. And it shows that there's no one right way to do training. Different roles, different levels of experience, different learning styles, it all matters.
So flexibility and understanding individual needs are key. Now, I'm curious about this AI training aspect. Is everyone just jumping on the AI bandwagon? Or are there specific areas people are interested in learning about?
The report shows a mixed bag when it comes to how people feel about AI. There's excitement and a sense of opportunity, but also some worry and caution.
Makes sense. AI is powerful, but it's not magic. There are definitely ethical and practical things to consider.
Absolutely. And when asked about their biggest concern regarding AI, the number one answer was the need for more training. People want to know how to use these tools the right way, responsibly and safely. It all goes back to education and support.
It sounds like there's an underlying anxiety about AI, like a fear of being left behind or making big mistakes.
That's a valid concern. AI is changing so fast, it's hard to keep up. And the stakes are high. AI could really change SRE and lots of other fields, but only if we use it wisely.
So this brings up a big question. How do we make sure AI is actually helping us improve reliability, not just adding complexity or creating new risks?
That's where targeted development comes in. We need AI solutions that are made specifically for the challenges of SRE, like automating repetitive tasks, finding patterns in complex systems, and preventing incidents before they happen. This means really understanding the SRE world and having AI developers and SRE people work closely together.
So it's not just about throwing AI at everything. It's about making AI that truly works for SRE. It sounds like the future of SRE is going to be shaped a lot by AI, but we need to be smart about how we use it.
Exactly. And this leads to something else important that the report highlights, the human factor. Even with all this AI, we can't forget that people are the ones building, maintaining, and fixing these systems.
Right. Technology can only go so far. The human element is always going to be critical. What does the report say about that?
Well, it talks about incidents, those times when things go wrong no matter how hard we try to prevent them. And it emphasizes that incidents aren't just technical events. They affect people, too.
We often talk about the technical side of incidents, but we don't always talk about how they affect people. It can be incredibly stressful to deal with those high-pressure situations.
It really can. And the report has some worrying numbers. For example, 40% of people said they'd handled 1 to 5 incidents in the past month alone.
Wow, that's more than I would have thought. And dealing with that many incidents must take a toll.
Yeah, it does. And it's not just the people doing the work. The report says incident response is something everyone in the organization feels. Managers are often just as involved as the people on the ground.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Everyone has a stake in making sure things get fixed quickly and efficiently.
Right. And this shared responsibility shows how important it is to have a supportive work environment, a place where people feel safe to respond to incidents without being blamed, where mistakes are seen as learning opportunities, and where there are systems to help people cope with the stress of incidents.
That's a really important point. Building that kind of culture can make a huge difference in how teams handle incidents. It's about building resilience, not just in the technology, but in the people, too.
Exactly. And this brings us to maybe the most interesting insight from the report. It points out a potential communication gap between IT and the business side.
Oh, that's a classic problem.
Mhm.
Tell me more about it. What did the report find?
The report asked people how much they agreed with certain statements about reliability practices. And while the overall responses were pretty positive, things got interesting when they looked at the data by who was in charge.
So different people in the organization might see reliability differently.
The IT teams might think you're doing great, but the business people might see things completely differently.
So everyone might think things are running smoothly, but there could be this disconnect that causes problems later on.
It could happen, and that's why open and honest communication is so important. If we don't all agree on what reliability means, how to measure it, and how to improve it, we're going to run into trouble.
It's like building a house on sand. It's not going to last.
Exactly. Building true resilience takes more than just technical skills. It takes good communication, a shared understanding of priorities, and a culture that's always learning and improving.
This has been a really insightful conversation so far. We've uncovered some interesting and sometimes surprising trends in SRE. And it's clear that AI is going to be a big part of this field in the future. But as we've said, it's not just about the technology. It's about people, processes, and culture.
You said it. And as we move forward, we need to be careful about how we use AI. We need to think strategically and prioritize both progress and well-being. We need to make sure AI solutions are really helping SRE teams and helping us create more reliable, resilient, and human-centered systems.
I agree. This report has given us a lot to think about. Where do we go from here? What's the one thing you want our listeners to remember? Well, this deep dive into the SRE Report 2025 has really given us a clear picture of what's happening in site reliability engineering. We've covered so much. The changing definition of downtime, the surprising increase in toil, the pressure to release fast while keeping things stable, the importance of training and a supportive culture, and that potential communication gap between IT and the business side.
It is a lot to process, but I think the main takeaway is that reliability isn't just a tech issue anymore. It's a complex challenge that needs a more holistic approach, one that considers the human factor, the organizational dynamics, and how we integrate new tech like AI.
Yeah, you're right. It's about finding that sweet spot between pushing innovation and making sure systems are stable, secure, and meeting user needs.
Exactly. And the report gives some good advice on how to handle this. For example, with AI, it says we need more targeted solutions that are made for the specific challenges of SRE.
That makes sense. We can't just expect any AI tool to solve all our problems. We need AI that's built for SRE.
Right. That means understanding how SRE works, the problems they face, and where we can use automation and optimization. We need AI that helps us reduce toil, improve monitoring, and prevent incidents before they happen.
And we can't forget about the human element in all of this. We need to create a culture where people feel comfortable speaking up, sharing what they know, and learning from mistakes.
Absolutely. A truly resilient organization has strong systems and a workforce that can handle the tough stuff.
So to everyone listening, take these insights back to your own companies. Think about how these trends are affecting your work and what you could do to improve reliability.
Are you making performance a priority? Are you looking for AI solutions that can actually help your SRE teams? Are you building a culture of communication, collaboration, and learning?
These are questions we all need to be asking ourselves. The future of SRE is exciting. There's so much potential. But it's up to us to shape it in a way that benefits both our systems and the people who work on them.
Well said. It's been great talking about this report with you.
And to all our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of SRE. We hope you found this episode helpful and interesting. Until next time, keep learning, keep innovating, and keep working towards that goal of true resilience.